Hola, lo siento para limitado vocabulario. Shaun Walton. I'm going to present in English on the fires we've had in the United Kingdom over the last few years. A little bit behind it first. In the United Kingdom, we've had wildfires for many years. We're gradually getting better at how we manage those fires, but we're probably still really dependent on using water as a suppression tactic rather than using fire as a suppression tactic. That's the direction we see ourselves travelling in. We do need to adapt. We need to learn from organisations and fire and rescue services like the Graph, and we'll speak a little bit later about how we're trying to adapt our response from a sector point of view to model the Graph with our wildfire tactical advisors that cover the UK, which is a new concept. We went live with it this year at the Winter Hill fire and fire at Saddleworth next to it in Manchester, which is about 30 miles away, both at the same time. So we learned a lot from that, and I'll speak a little more about how we got there as we go through. Okay, so there are just two wildfires in the UK that we've had. Probably the biggest ones this year, but we've had many, many more. They come through our National Coordinating Centre, and we have a definition for what a wildfire is. Like Mark was saying, we previously have had issues recording wildfires correctly. We've recorded small fires, medium fires. We've now got a definition on what a wildfire is, and it's recorded centrally and reported into a centre from individual fire and rescue services. In the UK, we have 40 plus fire and rescue services, all of which respond to all incident types: wildfires, commercial fires, building fires, road traffic collisions. So we have people in different places regarding knowledge of wildfires, and that's where we're trying to progress and improve that knowledge across the UK. So because I attended with Steve Gibson both Winter Hill and Saddleworth fires, we're just going to concentrate today on a bit of a case study for that particular one. Okay. This is a short video now showing the wildfire in its first stage. So this is a video just showing where it started. Now, this particular fire as well, it threatened our national infrastructure. So a big telecommunications mast, our fire and rescue service masts for mobilisations, and also TV coverage, as well as environmental impact and all the commercial and living dwellings around that area. So there's a mast that covers Greater Manchester in that direction. Easterly wind burning on these flanks. You can see people on there, but the fire's burning down two large flanks all the way down. Very protected ground in that area, environmentally. The smoke plume is travelling for miles over a heavily populated city, causing potentially respiratory issues for those with asthma and other chest complaints, and obviously attracting a significant amount of media attention. Sky News, BBC News, on the moors with cameras, which added some pressure. So it lasted 41 days, and it was 41 days of work because, like you, we were never going to put the fire out. We were never going to put it out. What we were doing is containing it. So we were trying to put a 25-metre perimeter all around the fire and then work our way around it and manage that. Two fire and rescue services attended it because it was in the middle of both areas. So we had Greater Manchester and Lancashire attending it, and then we also deployed in the wildfire TACADs, similar to you, nowhere near as where Graph is, but that type of concept where we'll try and advise the incident commander on tactics available and make sure that everything that they need to have considered, they have considered. And we offered that deployment, and as I say, I went and provided that function. We also wrote safety briefings for partner agencies. At any one time on that fire, we had 32 fire engines. Each fire engine has 5 people on it. And we also had 2 2 aircraft, 2 helicopters, and 250 partner agencies, landowners, land managers, water utility companies, etc., local authorities, agencies assisting with it. 41 days from June till August, every day, people actively involved suppressing that fire. Real difficulty getting water to it, real difficulty keeping the turnover of people there, generated quite a few problems as the incident progressed. It threatened, like I said, the infrastructure, properties, the environment. The smoke plume management changed every 4 hours. 1 hour, you've got an easterly wind, putting a massive smoke plume over Manchester. On the other side of Manchester, saddled with fire, putting a massive smoke plume over Manchester, and all settling down. And then you'll get a westerly wind, and it changes it to the direction and the fire behaviour. It was getting alignment, it was getting stronger winds, and it was just going where it needed to go. And we were trying to always stay one step ahead of it, using the tactical advisors to make sure the resources and assets were in the right place. Because it was so big, the size of the fire, we split it into sectors, different command points, and every sector thought they had the biggest problem. So we had to make sure we give that situational awareness to the incident commander on what was the issue. And there was other areas at significant risk of that fire jumping and spreading and probably doubling the size of it. What we then had is another fire on the other side of the moorland in another fire and rescue service area. At some point, we had a significant change in wind conditions, and that fire travelled over 1 kilometre an hour, and it basically met with the original fire. And I'll show you a photograph where it met our fire, and it went over a roadway. We couldn't stop it. It jumped the roadway, and it just carried on. And I've got a video that I'll show you of that happening. Once that did happen, we declared emergency, and that's where we had all our strategic commanders and other agencies and Home Office being aware, and we were briefing the Prime Minister on the situation of the fire and how we were managing it and how it was progressing, always thinking we may get another one. And we've got a lot of resources at once, so lots of issues to consider whilst we're doing that. We then had an incident ground emergency where we withdrew because of the conditions of the fire being so severe. It went from a really white, wispy smoke to a thick, yellow-grey smoke rolling over the hill. From the other side, where another fire and rescue service were working, and we had crews near the mast. We had to evacuate them. So once we evacuated them, we then identified we had one person unaccounted for. So we declared an incident emergency. We managed to get hold of them eventually via a main scheme radio, and we basically advised them how to do a self-rescue using breathing apparatus and full structural fire kit to walk down a roadway that was heavily covered with smoke. It had flames licking over it. The person walked out with no significant injuries, but for us it gives a real message that in the UK we had a wildfire where we had a firefighter potentially at risk. And that is basically the mindset of how we understand we've got to adapt and we've got to get better at what we do and understand that fire behaviour a lot more than we do at the moment. And we can see where you are and what's coming our way. And we want to learn from you and be more prepared when we get that. So this is a video that shows the wildfire coming over Winter Hill. So this is the one fire and rescue service. It's got a bit of forestation there. There's residential properties with LPG bullets in the garden. You can see the peat fire burning. As the day progresses, all these merge and produce more smoke. We didn't really get involved with that. We just tried to maintain the perimeter. But at the top there, you can see the tower. So we've got crews here, and this is coming right up the hillside. This is taken with our drone. We have a drone that does infrared and images like this. But it travelled from 1.6 kilometres to 400 metres away from the mast in less than an hour. So it's coming up at quite a rate of knots. And there was a bit of a breakdown between crews on that side and fire crews on the other side. Not a lot of communication. And at that point, there was no tactical lookouts other than the drone watching it. So, you know, a lot of learning from it. You can see the forestation involved. There was pockets of forestation around. What you'll see in later that is really surprising how green it is. It's really green, but it's absolutely stressed, bone-dry vegetation, and it burned just as well as the dead vegetation that had been there because of the wet winters that we've had and limited fires. So you can see all that eventually went on fire. That travelled up to it. We actually got a burn team from another fire and rescue service to come, and we put backburning around the mast and also backburning around properties to protect them. And because the burn went in really quick, it didn't get into the peat as much. So we were only dealing with the fire burning down towards us and how it stayed there. But as we were working the perimeter, we were literally travelling 10 metres and then coming back again because it was showing again. And it was constantly trying to manage the perimeter. We never said we've got 25% of the perimeter controlled, because we never did. It was always moving and burning deeper underground. So real difficult conditions with that. And you can see the extent of the smoke. That just kept going and changing conditions, dropping at night and then coming up again during the day. Okay, that's the area that was eventually burned. So the first fire that we went was there. That was the first fire, and we controlled that on day one. We put a perimeter around it. The wildfire TACADs left the scene with that advice incident command team, and then the second fire started down here, and it spread all the way along the back, all the way around there, and up to the top. What the wildfire TACADs did do is every morning, every evening and every morning, they produced a SMEAC briefing, situation, mission, execution, administration, and command, and we briefed face-to-face every commander coming on and made sure they were absolutely aware of the tactical plan and maintaining it. And the tactical plan consisted of pumping water from there, 7,000 litres a minute we pumped with an high volume pump, and that went up the roadway right around the back of the fire and into here. And we also had another reservoir on this side where we put a high volume pump line here. So we had 2 points on the incident where we had 7,000 litres of water being delivered, but we still had then to get it from that point onto the moorland using off-road vehicles mainly, and 2 helicopters periodically dropping it down. You can see here is the forestation. That's where we put control lines in. That's where we burned back. We burned back around these masts and transmitters here. That is a main arterial route, Belmont Road. That melted, not due to the fire. The time it melted just to the heat. Again, extraordinary conditions, but that are becoming the norm. You know, really low humidity, really high temperatures, 20-odd km/h winds. You know, for us, unusual. What we did as well is, because this land is all water catchment, runs into the reservoirs, gets treated, drinking water. We put hessian sheeting over the peat to stop it eroding, and we kept that wetted because that burned as well at points. And we also put hay bales into the off-run for the moorland so that it filtered the water to some degree, and that worked really well. We've done lots of testing with United Utilities companies, and the water quality is probably not as bad as we thought it may have been. It's been really well managed by the utility companies. I'll just move on from that one. That's an indicator that shows us from satellite the footprint of the fire. To get around that took hours. So we were trying to walk the fire and explain where the fire was to the incident commander and maintain that live. This is like a big green with an historical monument on it called Rivington Pike, and the fire was just completely around it, but it was a really good point for a tactical lookout. You had a real good view of the incident from there, but you still couldn't see everything. But that hill we managed to keep for all the 41 days. We were really concerned that due to the size of that, if the fire did get it, then the media attention would just go right to the top again, and it would have been a significant flare-up of a fire. So That was one of our priorities as well because of the historical status. We also had a woodland trust area around it that was, trying to regenerate the area, and it was the largest one in the UK, 1,700 hectares, and they lost 1,000 hectares due to the fire. We also had a Rivington Trust Heritage Group that had a 3.4 million lottery grant funding, and they'd done loads of work, and the fire head was heading towards that. So really difficult challenges, but we did save it. The feeling we take away from that is it was a really good, well-managed incident. We were really challenged, but from a partner agency perspective, we worked really, really well together. The wildfire intensity and frequency, we've taken that away. It is increasing in the UK. They are getting more severe. They are getting more frequent. I think we need to stop saying unprecedented, because they're not. It's becoming the new norm. I think that's where we are with it. All FRSs have a wildfire risk. We brought fire engines in from London, which is hundreds of miles away. So we have a national resilience, so we can bring other assets in. So we brought fire engines from London with firefighters in. Not many wildfires in London, but we're putting them on our moorland. So there's a big need for every fire and rescue service to understand they have got a wildfire risk, even if they've got any areas in the county where they may have a wildfire because they may be deployed in it. We spoke about our NFCC, National Fire Chiefs Council Wildfire TACADs. At the moment, that's 23 people who can be deployed nationally, and they will spend 72 hours, however long it might be, on a rotational basis to provide that advice and support to incident commanders. And that is a model we're trying to build on and learn from the graph and get those principles where we look at that analysis. We can advise that commander on tactics, where the fire is going to be in 72 hours, how it's going to look, how it's going to feel. And that's where we're trying to progress with it. We spoke about LACES and SMEAC, international learning and cohesion. It really is great to be here. We really do appreciate it. I think we've taken a lot from it over the few days we've been here. It's really going to help us, and obviously we want to share what we can with you guys as well, accepting that we are a little bit behind the curve, but there may be things that we can pass that you might find a benefit, and we'll certainly share the learning with you. And we're also building up an asset register so that we can understand exactly what we have got available when we need it and where, and we can deploy them in to support commanders with actual assets, off-road vehicles, advice and support. One big thing we did have was command fatigue. We've got 35 officers in Lancashire who are basically mobilised, same as myself, in a vehicle, in their own car, and we'll manage an incident for a period of time and support the crews who are actually in the firefighting. And we had a command fatigue. We were working sometimes, for extended periods of time and making decisions when we were very tired. So that's another area we need to look at to make sure that we do put those rests in and have that capability to backfill and get the right people there to support us. Bit of a factoid, 41 days, 680 bottles of sun cream. I don't think we've any left in the UK now, it's not that sunny usually. 500 vans, vehicles turning up with loads of food, hats, eye wash, respirators, clothing. That was all there. 40 partner agencies helping us. 18 square kilometres of moorland damage. We were there for about 20k working hours. We delivered 30k of water, litres per minute. So a hell of a lot of water every minute being deployed onto it. Zero rain. Lots of Facebook, lots of Twitter. Everyone's kind of like watching and seeing where we're going. 983 mobilisations of fire appliances onto the scene. The drone went up 77 times, day and night. I went up in the police helicopter every morning so that I could have a fly around it and see what we had. We had loads of rescue volunteers helping us out. We missed 4 England games and we were winning, nearly. And we dropped 400k litres of water from aerial attacks. That's just a few of the agencies that helped us. Other fire and rescue services, local councils, agencies, food. Very, very proactive and very forward thinking for all the agencies that assisted. And just closing slide, that's a normal view of it. That's the point where we had our incident emergency, where the fire came over, so you can see the significance and the lack of visibility and the concern that you would have as an incident commander if you didn't know that everyone was on there. The other agencies coming on, not necessarily going through a command point, you know, walkers, members of the public, loads of issues to manage a scene, very difficult to control and stop access. It's open land, very close to a town, so loads of people coming in to have a look at the smoke and the fire. So real big issues. We've done the debriefs. We've split the debriefs into 3 main points: planning, response and business continuity, and we're currently working through them to improve how we do our business next time. In Lancashire, I'm coming over with 80 of my colleagues and Steve in March, and we're doing the burn course with the graph. We're looking forward to it. I'm hoping we'll take a lot back from that. And we're going to run a seminar in Lancashire in early 2019, just talking about wildfire in general, and probably something similar to what we've presented here. And we're also trying to uplift the skills of the TACADs and get more people and maybe some more capability in terms of fire suppression teams to cover the UK. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you.